Coach, obviously, got behind early and Missouri pretty much dominated from start to finish. Do you see from the start that your team was just not there today, or as far as energy wise, or did you kind of sense that, or what did you kind of see from that first half?
Yeah, definitely was a dominating performance by Missouri. Congratulations to Coach Gates and their staff. We knew they were a really good basketball team before the ball was tipped. I told everybody that would listen to me that they're the best team in the country, not just the SEC, that nobody's talking about. I know they're ranked 20th, but they just looked really, really good to me all year long, especially on tape in their recent games. But unfortunately, I sensed it a little bit. Tried to do something about it verbally with a couple of guys before the ball was tipped, but usually you can settle in and competitive juices will take over. But when it was, I'm not great at this, but it was 35-30, I think, there later in the first half, and I remember thinking we can get to halftime and maybe be where we're at now, or maybe get a little bit closer. We can regroup and come out and get the crowd behind us, etc. And it just went from bad to worse. I mean, all of a sudden it was 14 at halftime. The last 3+ minutes, was a bad stretch for us. It just took the wind out of the crowd sails. It certainly, at halftime you're doing what you can do to try to get them, to understand there's a lot of basketball left, and we're going to have to really take it, segment by segment. Can't get it back all at once, and that was, we started that way. I think we cut it to 10, and then it was just downhill after that.
Go to Jacob to coach's right front row.
Coach, Missouri hits 15 threes, some contested, some open. Kind of what were they doing on the perimeter to give y'all guys trouble?
Yeah, it's the third, home loss that we've had this year that's been the tail of the tape. 16, 15, and 15, and efficient doing it, not with a bunch of attempts. So we're going to have to really break it down as a staff and kind of go backwards a little bit to change some things, because it's not working. It's not a one-off. It's been consistent, and there's a lot of teams in this league that are capable of shooting the basketball like that. How I don't believe in they just made shots. Sometimes they make a shot or two, but not 15 of them. That way we have something to do with that, and we're going to have to try to fix that ASAP.
Go Benjamin to coach's right, and then we'll go back to Jacob.
You were talking yesterday about how Missouri likes to trap and send extra defenders at the ball, and it seemed like especially early in the game, you guys offensively struggled a bit to pick that up. So what did you see from them in terms of just how you responded to the pressure that they brought?
Yeah, it wasn't a surprise. Unfortunately, some of the execution on the court looked surprised. Josh gets doubled quite a bit, and by this point in his career, he needs to understand that, and that equally important, the other 4 guys in the court need to understand and what their responsibility is when that happens, in terms of outlets and short rolls, and attacking when you have an advantage. If you could get the ball cleanly out of the trap that we knew that they would employ. And you're right, we struggled early on the offensive end of handling that 2 on the ball, and they did it to a couple others as well. I remember Cam getting trapped, I think maybe the first or second play of the game after Josh did, and we had a bad turnover there. We survived the first one, and certainly that was a big part of their game plan, and it threw us off.
Coach, Josh is the only guard to score over 6 points in this game. I know you have plenty of capable scorers at the guard position. What do you need to do to kind of get those guys going and moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't, we just got beat in every category. Like, that's just the bottom line. You know, I told the team, since I've arrived, our staff has arrived, we've played, I don't know off the top of my head, I'm guessing, you know, 50 plus games in the hump. It's gotta be around there. And we've had some tough nights. We've had some tough losses. We haven't won every game that we played at home. But I don't ever remember that feeling that I had this afternoon. I was embarrassed for all of us. It starts with me. It's my responsibility to have the pulse and get them ready to go, either via game planning or just motored up and motivated. And obviously we weren't. You know, the first couple possessions of the second half, if you go back and look, we had some guys that got after the ball in a different mindset than they did the whole first half. And that's where I told them, like, the cat was out of the bag. What were you waiting for? You know, do you think at, you know, 4-4 in the SEC and coming off a tough game against Alabama that we were just gonna show up and win because, you know, we weren't playing a top 10 team? But I feel awful for our fan base, for the administration, for everybody that loves Bulldog basketball. And it was an awful feeling, and I never want to have it again. And we're gonna do what we gotta do to make sure that that never happens again.
Got time for a few more. We'll go back to the cameras.
Coach, you have a week before your next game. What are you planning on doing this week in order to get your team right, right physically, but also mentally going into head to the final stretch?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a long week. You know, it's something we talked about. You know, we're gonna have a little bounce in our step going into the bye week, or not. Certainly the or not is what won out. So, you know, I haven't got my mind around exactly, you know, what our plan's gonna be. I thought I had it, but it may need to be altered now in terms of practice time and this and that and the other. But we'll have plenty of time and tape and work on the court, work off the court, to try to, you know, make sure that, you know, like I said, this never happens again.
James in the front left to wrap us up.
Coach, after Georgia, you've got another string of ranked SEC opponents. Just what are some of the biggest things you want to make sure you're able to do once you're back in these kinds of games against ranked conference opponents?
I just don't feel like over the course of not every game, but too many games where, you know, we're not playing the way we need to play on both ends. You know, it's always started with defense and rebounding and toughness. And, you know, in this league where there's very, very small margin of error, you take your foot off the gas and everybody's going to take advantage of it. We've been able to do that to other teams too. But we've just got to understand that, you know, we have a, you know, margin of error that's small regardless. We've got deficiencies. Most of the teams do. They're all really, really good, but they do. And we've got to play to our strengths and understand what our strengths and weaknesses are. And I've got to figure out, you know, how to get us in better position so we can have more success.
All right. We'll see you.